toilet water as communion and come and fail. What God cannot do. I am that young girl from Enugu that the Lord has showed mercy. Fast forward backwards to few years ago when I came abroad. My brother went abroad and was deported back. So we have a history of you go abroad and you come back empty-handed. It got to my turn. I couldn't tell my mom I was traveling because I didn't want to put her through that same pressure. So my brother's wife introduced me to Nsppd. I did the application. It took months. The documentation they gave me where I got the job had a week to expire. The passport came back after 2 months plus and the visa was denied. I went back to God. In fact, I did not even go back to prayer. Let me be honest. I was crying and spying. And my brother called me and said, what is the name of that your God? That your Eroi that used to disturb us every 7 o'clock? I now remembered I have not prayed. Luckily for me, Pastor was preaching and Pastor said, you just finished crying about a visa. Go back. This time, it will not take up to 7 days. I laughed though, because my document was actually 7 days. I have to rewrite IELTS because the one I wrote before was not UKVI. That was the reason for the rejection. That day, I went to Lagos without a passport. I did a front page of my passport to Lagos, thinking that when I go there, I will tell them to let me in. I got there. They said, no, the rule is the rule. It was in the morning during Nsppd. I was at the staircase crying. One of the supervisors came up, she was an Nsppd, and she looked at me. You were so loud, you are disturbing the environment. He looked, Nsppd, why are you crying? I said, Mommy, I don't have passport though. She said, what do you have? I showed her what. She said, go to British Council in Ikoyi. By the time I got there in British Council, another Nsppd was the gate man. Mind you, British Council had closed. The man stood there, said, cry, Madam is an Nsppd and she's coming out. I stood there, I was crying. She met me, she said, young lady, why are you crying? They have finished morning prayer. I was repeating the Nsppd song, the one. I said, Mommy, please, oh, Sissy. She took me inside, there was no date. She said, okay, let me speak to my Oga. She went and said, are you fit to write the exam the next day? I said, yes, ma, I am fit. In fact, give me today, I will write. She said, come tomorrow. I came, so they booked me for IELTS UKVI the next day. I went, I wrote, I smashed. This time around 9.0 for someone that was not prepared. I did the application. There was no money to fly to Abuja from Lagos. The woman looked at me and said, do you have money? I said, where? Do you have the passport? She controlled the passport from Enugu to Lagos State. She said, take this money, bought the flight to Abuja. I got to Abuja the next day. There was no network in TLS contacts. The gate man told me, do you know how many people that be here? I turned and looked and said, I'm an Nsppd. My heart got stronger. One senator's wife stood by the side. A young lady like you, Nsppd. I said, yes, my mommy.